Yes, guys, hello and welcome to a new style of video. We're trying to do more offline videos to keep the content running here. And what better way to kick things off again with a review of some forwards, some stats for you guys, some opinion pieces, and also to get your guys' comments about who you would prefer out of Richarlison, Raphinha, and Lautaro Martinez. Three very strong forwards, or maybe you even have a preference other than these guys. But of course, as always, let's bring in Andre. How you doing, Andre?
Oh, I'm doing well. Things are heating up. I'm really excited to talk about these forwards because all three are great, but there's one specifically that I would want.
Okay, it's going to be interesting to hear who it is you want out of the three, or maybe it's a different one. Let's find out. But let's get straight into things. And just to clear things up, Andre, what is the latest on these three players and their likelihood to, or for any of them to join Tottenham?
Well, how about we start off with Richarlison? I think that at the moment, as far as I know, they have had contacts with his agent. They've talked to him, but obviously it looks like there may be several clubs that want him,
Mhm.
and the amount of money that he might go for will be a lot. And it honestly, depending on how much money it is, I don't know if it'd be worth it. We'll see. His contract expires in 2 seasons, and I'm sure Everton will try their best to get as much money as they can because
Sure.
next season, obviously, that's when they're going to be a bit more tight when it comes to asking for more money since he'll be on his last season. At
Hmm.
the same time, though, before I proceed to the next one, Tottenham at the moment are prioritizing other positions.
Okay.
So we got our right wing backs, we got our center backs. The strikers will they'll get to that at some point and things will heat up then. But you push may come to shove because Raphinha, London, the London clubs in general, they want
Mm.
him. Barcelona bid 40 million for him and got rejected. Leeds won about 65 to 75 million for him, nothing less.
Wow, it's a lot of
And
money.
obviously, you're aware of his financial situation, right? Like Barcelona's financial situation,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's kind of brutal. So they need to sell. You got players like De Jong leaving, things like that, and
True.
because that's the case, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Tottenham, all three of them are exploring options for him. At the moment, this might be bad news, but Arsenal are the ones that are sort of the most,
Oh no.
yeah, they're the most keen on him at the moment. They are in direct contacts with the club, although
Hmm.
not with the player. Barcelona was the other way. They had contacts with the player wanting to go, but the club is saying, no, do not lowball us. Give us what we want. Arsenal, they may be wanting to spend that amount of money. It's up to the player now if he would like to go to a club that is not going to offer him Champions League. However, even to be honest, Leeds to Arsenal would be a step up. But if Tottenham can possibly offer them the money they want, I'm sure Rafinha would be more keen on going to Champions League games.
Yeah,
So
of course. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he wants to hear that Europa League music. I think he wants to hear that Champions League music, Andre. To be honest with you, but yeah, let's get into things. Obviously, like you said, there's still a chance that both could join. It's looking Rafinha maybe more likely for Arsenal at this stage. Would you agree that is kind of the conclusion on this?
well, not that it's more likely, they're just ahead compared to
Okay, but they
Chelsea.
were ahead on Basuma as well. Don't forget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it
So,
really just depends if we pull the trigger,
do you think we
and how
will?
much it could be. It depends, right? It depends on the player. What does he want?
Mm,
Where does he want to go?
true.
If we meet the price, does Rafinha want to come to Tottenham and wear that white shirt, or does he want to see if Barcelona want to try again?
Course he does. Of course he wants to wear lily white and not red. Of course. But let's get into kind of the stats, the breakdown, and then obviously give our opinion. And then, guys, like I said, put in the comments who you prefer out of the three players, and maybe even give an outside the box, maybe other choice out of the three. It's a forwards discussion. Any is obviously that any forward that's realistic, whack it in the comments and smash a thumbs up if you did enjoy this video when you get to the end of it. But Andre, let's get into things. Let's whack up the first talking point, which is of course Richarlison. Now, very quickly, I just want to say this guy is. I need convincing on this one still. Okay. A lot of people are big fans of him. A lot of people say he's got an attitude problem. A lot of people say he doesn't return enough goals and assists for his performances. There's no doubt he's a talented boy. He's still quite young. Believe around the age of 25. I mean, he's a decent player. Plays for the Brazilian national team. A very, very decent player. Arguably kept Everton up single-handedly last season, getting 10 goals, 5 assists, 30 matches played, so a goal or an assist every other game. The season before, not quite as many, 7 goals, 3 assists, and the year before that, 13 goals, 3 assists, which was 16 goal contributions. The thing that concerns me about this guy, and this is the attitude problem, 9 yellow cards last season. He's like Lamella. He loves the yellow card. 4
Yeah.
assists also. 4 yellow cards the season before, 8 yellow cards season before. Essentially, he's got about 25 yellow cards in the last 3 seasons. It's absolutely crazy numbers. That concerns me personally. I've got to say, he's a loose cannon, but he is talented. Jack, I know, obviously another co-host on this channel, absolutely thinks he'd be great for Spurs. I'm not convinced on him. I do think he's a good player. Do I think he's a Spurs player? I've talked to people; they think he could be. I'm not convinced. I would need to be convinced more. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not fully convinced either. I'm already scared for the amount of money they might want for him, the amount of
Mm,
money that we might actually put on the table for him. But I will, if Conte really wants him, then I will uh, respect that. So far, he's 2 for 2 on the signings, and if
yeah,
Bissouma, Fraser Forster, and Perisic all do well, that's 5 for 5. So
yeah,
you know
definitely. And
that's the way I see it.
Paratici and Conte, we trust their wish lists, what their demands are. Yeah, they've done their research at the end of the day. We were kind of eyebrows raised at Bentancur and Kulusevski, and look how good those two have been. So, yeah, very good point again. Any more stats on Richarlison that you kind of want to point out in terms of, well, maybe you don't sound like you're convinced on him either, but do you have any stats that maybe could convince the watchers that it could be a good option?
Well, 23 of the 72 shots he took last season were on target. That's about I would say 32%. So it's
Mm.
not the best. I'm pretty sure Gabriel Jesus was sitting more at like a 40%. Not
Oh
saying that
wow.
I want him, by the way. I'm just comparing.
Yeah, yeah.
um, Jesus looks set for Arsenal anyways, which is fine, I guess. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. We'd have to see. But at the same time, though, if Conte knows that he'll fit well, maybe he'll become brilliant, right?
Mm.
At Kulusevski at Juventus, I'm sure he was he was brilliant there, but he just wasn't getting the opportunities. He wasn't really fitting in, and then he came in here, and now he's well known in the Premier League.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Good point. Good
That's
point. Um, okay. Well, if you can tell already, guys, my choice is not Richarlison, but it'd be good to know if you guys are massive Richarlison fans. Maybe try and convince me in the comments, convince myself and Andre. But let's move on to the second option in this video, which is this man, Raphinha of Leeds United. And for me, out of the 3 we're talking about, without ruining my choice already, this guy beats Richarlison. So you can see which direction I'm going in. 20. It's last season, 35 games played, 11 goals, 3 assists. Very good record, especially as Leeds really struggled, nearly got relegated. 20 to 21 season, 36 games played, 6 goals, 9 assists. So he's basically averaging about 15 goal contributions every season. Not far off Richarlison's stats. In fact, actually, it's better than Richarlison's stats. And also for the Brazil national team, I picked this one out. 7 games played in the qualifiers and the South American qualifiers, 3 goals and 2 assists. So almost a goal contribution a game for Brazil. Very liked by Brazil by the looks of things, as well as Richarlison as well. So both national team players, similar in their own rights, but also very different players at the same time. I feel like Richarlison's more of a striker. Raphinha comes off for the wide areas. I feel like Richarlison almost could be more versatile, but I prefer Raphinha. I think he's a little bit more tricky. I think he's a little bit more level-headed, perhaps less attitude. People might correct me on this one because I've heard he has an attitude problem as well. But at the end of the day, it seems like a lot of these modern-day footballers have some kind of attitude problem. They're the exact same age, 25 years of age. Raphinha, again, 7 yellow cards, though, to be fair. I mean, he still gets quite a lot of yellow cards, but not quite as many as Richarlison, to be fair. But I just think this guy, I've said it on previous streams, he's got great flair. He's tricky. I like the fact he can shoot from range. I believe he's quite good at free kicks as well. So for me, Raphinha just edges it because from what I've watched at Leeds, I like him more as a player, and I think he'd fit well in our system. Maybe, obviously, potentially Bergwijn going on, Lucas might move on. We'd need like strength and depth in in the winger position, and I think Raphinha is more important and would fit into Tottenham slightly better than Richarlison. What are your thoughts, Andre?
I agree. I think that personally, at least for me, out of the three that we're talking about, I think Raphinha is my favorite one to come here. 25 years old, obviously, right at that prime, right at that moment where you go and you hit your prime, at least for a footballer. And his contract also expires in 2 seasons. So obviously that's why Leeds are asking for a lot of money. But like I said, there's competition here. Arsenal, Chelsea, they also want him. Chelsea, who are spending big, and they're big spenders in general, they might actually be the hardest competition when it comes to getting him, more so than
Well,
Arsenal, unless Arsenal pulls the trigger really quickly and we don't want to spend 65 to 75.
yeah, but quick point on Chelsea. Obviously, they got new ownership. Obviously, Roman Abramovich has now sold the club to the Bowley family, and I think they'll want a couple of statement signings. They've been linked with Sterling, obviously, and Raphinha. I feel like they're going to make one of these signings, if not both, to make a statement to say, look, we're here at Chelsea now. We're the owners. Remember this signing. They made huge signings. Roman Abramovich did in his first few years at Chelsea. That's why they ended up winning the league in the early 2000s. So for me, I could see Chelsea swooping and being the competition on this one. I think you're right.
Yeah, not to mention that again, they just in general the past few windows in the summer, they've spent big. And I
Yeah.
don't think I think the new owners will want to keep that sort of momentum. I
Hmm.
know that they're also they want Jules Koundé. They're chasing him as well. So I'm sure they'll get those going.
And
It'll really
Lukaku's
be
going.
yeah,
Lukaku's going as well.
Lukaku's going, but it's just on a loan though. What a way to go though. Oh well.
Basically,
But
Inter
yeah,
Milan are saving money and getting their player back is a ridiculous deal. But I mean, they're going to have to look at the striker options. Maybe Raphinha, does he? He's not necessarily a striker, is he? He's more of a winger. So maybe they still need wingers, but I think they still need that striker option as well. But obviously, sticking on the Spurs thing, I think Raphinha is going to be wanted by a lot of clubs, like you said.
what is interesting is both of them are sort of similar in the sense that they're multi-positional. They
Hmm.
play winger and they can play center forward.
Hmm.
So they offer a lot of options for Conte to do whatever changes he needs to do, whatever tactics he needs to change. We were talking about how with more midfielders, he has the option, depending on what's happening in the game, to switch to 3 midfielders or to have
Absolutely.
2 and then add more forwards. So honestly, either of the two I think will do well. I just on my end, I feel Raphinha would just edge out Richarlison just by a little bit. I think the fact that Raphinha in a being in a Leeds team that hasn't really been doing well in general, and this season especially, and to still be such a huge talking point, it to me that just speaks volumes. The fact that
Mhm.
the price tag has been set, all right, and it's pretty big, and there's still all these clubs who want him.
Yeah.
I said 3, but technically 4 if Barcelona can up their bid if they're able to sell some players. So
Well,
for all
maybe
you know,
Spotify will chip in on the on the bid on that one. It's called the Spotify new cam now. Maybe they'll help them.
well, think about it this way too. What if, right? Because there's the crazy thing about the window, right? Is so many things can play into a player not coming to a certain club. What if Manchester United pull the trigger, they buy De Jong, and then the De Jong money goes to Raphinha? Then all of this is useless, and none of the London clubs get him. So
Let's see, let's see. But in terms of your opinion, you would take Raphinha over Richarlison, right?
yes.
Okay, let's move on to the third one, and then let's make a decision on this video. So, the next player is Lautaro Martinez. What a player this guy is. I've already expressed how much I love this guy. He is class. Andre, for me, out of the three, 100% Lautaro Martinez we should go for. And yes, the first comment, people are already commenting in the comments, he's worth 80 million, James. He's worth 90 million pounds. Listen, if we're going to compete, if we want a real squad, if we want to really, really, really challenge for the title, challenging the Champions League, we need a caliber of player like this. I don't think there's any point faffing around and buying Richarlison for 50 or 60 million or Raphinha for 60 to 70 million. Why not pay a little bit more, stump up a fee, get rid of Ndombele, get rid of Lo Celso, get rid of these assets of money that we do not need and buy a big marquee signing and go, listen, Conte and his boys mean big business this year. I just think it's a no-brainer, to be honest with you. And people might say, well, that is an absolutely outrageous statement. You know, he's nearly £100 million. Inter Milan have to sell players, and it looks like they're getting Lukaku back into the club. Lautaro Martinez, a year younger, 24 years of age. This guy scores for absolute fun. He scored against Liverpool in the Champions League last season. He scored absolutely loads of goals in the league as well. I mean, in the Champions League, he didn't get like crazy amount of goals, but you can tell he's a sharp player. You can tell he's a top player. Scored in the Coppa Italia a couple of times. For Argentina, played 14 goals, 7, 3 assists, almost a goal contribution a game again. And in his last 3 seasons at Inter Milan, listen to this. 3 seasons ago, 35 games played, 14 goals, 3 assists. The season before last, 38 games played, 17 goals, 4 assists. Again, quality. Literally double figures, high double figures. And last season, Andre, 35 matches played, 21 goals, 3 assists, bringing him to 24 goal contributions in 35 games. If I can't sell you this player anymore, the fact he's so good at shooting from long range, from short range, he's a poacher, he's creative, he can play behind a striker, he can play up front, he can probably play on the wing. I'm not too sure on that one. Maybe we will have to ask our more Euro experts like Jack on that one. But I know he's a top player at striker and behind the striker. He can, like I said, he's just technical. He reads the game so well. He's got flair. He's great at dribbling. He's small. He's a pain for defenders. This ticks every single box in a Conte player. And guess what? He thrived under Antonio Conte when they won the league with Antonio Conte the season before last. I think Conte would love this player. I think Tottenham would absolutely love this player and benefit from him. And I think out of all three, if I haven't made it clear enough already, Lautaro Martinez for me.
All right, here's the thing. I agree technically with everything you said. All the technical stuff. Yes, he's a brilliant player. However, okay, let's talk about, first of all, where he's played. He has never played in the Premier League. Okay. And look what happened to a player who was killing it, that he went for over 100 million. Lukaku. He went to the Premier League, even though he'd been there before. But he went to the Premier League, and now he's being sent back. Okay.
Yes, but we all knew what Lukaku was like in the Premier League. Amazing for Everton, very good for West Brom, but a flop for Man United. The warning signs were there for Chelsea. They should have never spent that money. They went off the fact that he was so good that season, and they took a risk and thought maybe it was Man United that was the odd one out. Actually, Lukaku can't perform for a top Premier League side. And yes, I could be fueling your point here. Lautaro Martinez could be the same, but you could say that about lots and lots of class players, you know, that didn't work out. But look at the ones that did work out that came from other leagues. Sergio Aguero, as one off the top of my head, came from Atletico Madrid. Look how good he was. Look how good he was. He was unbelievable. People said Zlatan couldn't do it in the Premier League. He was pretty good for Man United for a season or two. You know, wasn't, you know, at the top of his prime, but, you know, he was like 36 when he came to Man United. Still class. My point is, sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But I just think Lautaro Martinez, the fact he performs for Argentina, he plays in a team with the likes of Messi and Di Maria and all these absolutely brilliant players, and just looks like the star of the show, along with, like, he's even overshadowing Messi at times. He is a top player. If I'm talking levels, we're talking Raphinha and Richarlison here, maybe Raphinha slightly above, and then for me, Lautaro Martinez. And I know what you're saying about the Premier League. It does have a little bit of concern, but you've got to think Serie A players have so far worked at Spurs. You said it yourself. Bentancur, Kulusevski. I think this is the hat trick we need. And if it's not like Weston McKennie or someone from Juventus like that, I think we go for someone else in the Serie A that's got that high marquee top statement signing going bang. Tottenham Hotspur mean business. And if it doesn't work, what's the worst that can happen? We've already made mistakes on Dembele and lost 60 million on that guy. Or maybe we'll get 30 million back, but we've still lost 30, 40 million. We've lost money on Lo Celso. I can't see this guy like going down more than 30 mil, even if it was a flop. People would still take chances on him. He's still young. He's a top player. Go for him.
Well, you also think about the players that we've just signed. Okay, Bissouma, he is Premier League proven. It's why everyone is talking about what a signing he is. Like even though he hasn't gone for much, it's not one of those huge deals. The fact that we spent about 29 million for him, he's Premier League proven, he's ready to go, builds the confidence. Next, Fraser Forster, also Premier League proven, good backup goalkeeper.
Yep.
Perisic has played in multiple leagues,
but he hasn't played in the Premier League. So
right,
again,
but he's played in multiple leagues, so it's not like he's stuck to one league and that's it. Martinez has only played in one league besides Racing Club from Argentina, and that's Serie A. So there's a huge risk in seeing what he does there, and then.
But you can't live like that in transfers. You can't live like that in transfers. Let me give you another example. Heung-min Son, we got from Bayer Leverkusen. Before was at Hamburg. Just played in one league pretty much, Bundesliga. Comes to the Premier League, starts off slowly for 1 or 2 seasons. I was saying to my family and friends, this guy's still going to be a top player. Top player. You could tell there was something about him. My friends can quote me on this in case you think I'm just saying it out of the blue. I said that Heung-min Son would be class, and he was class. Lautaro Martinez is the next player. What I'm saying is coming from another league that doesn't have to play in the Premier League. You can just tell he is class, a class player. So many clubs linked with him. I wouldn't be surprised if even Man City went for him next season if we didn't go for him. Because that's the caliber of player we're talking. He's a Manchester City player. He's that kind of good player. We should sign him before everyone else catches on. And I think everyone else has already caught on because, like you said, I think Chelsea could swoop for him potentially in a deal with Lukaku. Who knows? But I would love Spurs to sign him.
Well, as I'll conclude it this way because I've already given my thoughts on here. If Conte pulls the trigger and goes, get Martinez over the other two, I will support it at the end of the day. My favorite is Raphinha. But at the end of the day, it's not my job to make the signings. And I think that if Conte wants Martinez, I will be so excited because if he can replicate those kind of numbers, let's not even talk about it anymore. They're gonna get me on Team Martinez now. That's enough.
I nearly got you on there already. Anyway, but there, imagine like Kane, Son, Lautaro Martinez, Kulusevski. The goals will be not just coming from Kane and Son. It will be coming from 3 or 4, maybe even 5 directions. But listen, guys, that is the end of that little short video. I hope you enjoyed something a little bit different today. Would you go for Richarlison, Raphinha, or Lautaro Martinez if you had the choice to definitely get one? Let us know in the comments. Or is it another forward out there? Is it someone else? Let us know. It'll be interesting to hear what the Spurs relatables think. Quick one. Thanks so much for 1,000 subscribers. Massively appreciate it. I know Andre wasn't on the stream yesterday. I'm sure he's absolutely buzzing. Maybe Andre, you got a little something to say, but we will do a separate video on it.
Oh, 100%. Thank you guys. We would not be here without you. And we're always happy to be able to hear your thoughts, talk about Tottenham, and just watch them grow together.
Absolutely love it, guys. Please do smash a thumbs up on this video. It helps out so much. Subscribe if you're new and enjoying the content. And we'll be back same time again tomorrow, or definitely content throughout the week for Tottenham, Spurs related. You heard it here first. And as always, guys, remember, come on, you Spurs!